name is Thomas Brown. I'm the founder and clinical director of Equanimity Psychological Services, which is a central London psychotherapy and counselling service. And today I'm going to be talking about Autism Spectrum Disorder, or ASD as it's sometimes referred to. Around 1 in 59 of us are on the autism spectrum, and having awareness about ASD is important for various reasons. Most notably, a survey sparked by a Channel 4 documentary this year has found that many people on the autism spectrum may well not be diagnosed, and many of those undiagnosed groups are women who may be socially masking with difficulties or deficits that people may have. Without a diagnosis, there is usually much worse outcomes for people's quality of life. People undiagnosed with ASD have a much higher risk of developing depression, developing anxiety conditions, and committing suicide. But also access to services and facilities, particularly for children, such as learning support, may be missed out if the diagnosis is not made. So finding out and finding the specific details about it can be very, very important. So ASD, or Autism Spectrum Disorder, usually begins, or invariably begins, in childhood. It is a psychiatric condition, and it affects people's development in most ways. So people with Autism Spectrum Disorder can invariably have social difficulties. They may not reciprocate easily to people's conversations. They may not initiate conversations. They may have difficulty turn-taking in conversations. But also understanding the non-verbal elements of life, such as frowns, such as smiles. People with ASD may struggle to notice these signals, these signs that some people make, and misinterpret what people's intentions are, and so on. People with ASD usually also have a lot of sensitivities and insensitivities. They usually have at least one, and it could be that someone with an ASD just may not notice the cold very much. They may walk around with a t-shirt midwinter and not notice the cold. Some people have oversensitivities, and this can be relatively common in ASD. It could be the humming of a fridge or a cooler. Can be very, very unbearable for somebody. They just listen to that sound and it's really grating in their mind. But also other aspects such as smells, such as touches, fabric and clothes can be very, very unbearable for people with ASD. People with Autism Spectrum Disorder usually also have particular interests and usually engage in repetitive behaviours. And people may have restricted interests. They may, for example, focus a lot on travel systems or something that most people wouldn't be interested in. But people with ASD will usually have an interest, but it also leads to repetitive behaviours. And frequently people with ASD would also like things to be the same. They like routine, they don't like change, and what they're used to they'll get to. Something that out of the ordinary, a train not turning up on time, can lead to intense distress to most people with ASD, and it can be very, very crippling for them. Around 1 in 10 people with autism spectrum disorder have savant abilities, so have skills in an area that most people don't have. It might be an artistic skill. The famous classic example of Stephen Wiltshire, who was able to memorise in great detail buildings and recreate them artistically. But other people, such as Charles Darwin, have been rumoured to be affected with autism spectrum disorder. But also Bill Gates is also rumoured to harbour some form of mild autism spectrum disorder. The severity of the symptoms or the features of autism spectrum disorder vary quite widely, and the most recent diagnostic manual puts them into 3 categories. At the mild end, what used to be referred to as Asperger's syndrome, now high-functioning autism. People may have certain social deficits, but also have the ability to learn and get on okay at school. They may have some struggles, but at the same time they can function relatively well. At the severe end, a person with autism may not even speak, may not be aware of what is going on around them, and it's a condition that can be really crippling for people on the severe end of autism. There is a part of society to recognise, and autism is a condition whereby people would have differences. Someone with autism may not understand another person and vice versa. And I think with awareness, people having greater awareness of autism spectrum disorder is more likely to include people. This could be socially, it could be in the workplace. But being aware of these sorts of difficulties are the first signs in helping people with autism spectrum disorder.